Welcome to this week's episode of the Full Scope Cybercast, Safeguarding the Digital Frontier. I'm your host, Matt Van Pelt, and with me today are Brian Amadeo from Full Scope's Business Development Team. Brian, how are you today?
I'm doing excellent, Matt. How are you today?
I'm doing terrific. And also today we have Matthew Kelly, a member of the IT technical team for Full Scope. How are you today, Matthew?
How's it going?
It's going good. Can't complain. It's good for a Monday, Could be a lot worse. Maybe I shouldn't say the day since these don't come out on Mondays. I don't know how that works.
It's Monday for us.
Yeah, right. It's Monday, one way or the other. All right. Let's start off today's episode with breaking down the buzzword.
Breaking down the buzzword.
This episode's buzzword is phishing. Businesses are thriving in the digital age and we're all more connected than ever. But there's a catch: phishing. It's a sneaky trick that cyber criminals love to use. They set traps in emails, on the phone, across social media, and even in text messages. Their goal? To get you to spill your secrets, stuff like your credit card numbers, login details, and other sensitive info. Phishing isn't just some tech term anymore. It's a big deal, constantly changing and getting smarter and tricking folks. Whether you're running a business or just surfing the web, phishing is a real threat, especially in 2024. So, gentlemen, what does a typical phishing attack look like, and what are some ways to prevent phishing attacks from happening?
I would say the phishing attacks that we see the most, especially I would say on the help desk, is emails either from a file sharing platform such as OneDrive, Google, like that. It'll be an email that looks exactly like somebody's trying to share, say, like a OneDrive document with you or some Google Drive document with you. It'll, like I said, look completely legit, especially with AI these days. The language will be perfect English. You click on it, it'll bring you to a site. It'll look exactly like Microsoft, exactly like Google, and it'll just ask you to log in. You'll try to log in once, it'll fail. Try to log it again, it'll fail. Maybe a third time, it'll fail again, and then it will forward you to the actual Microsoft site. So you're just like, hey, that was really weird, right? So now the bad actor has just captured 3 of your passwords. So typically, that's what it looks like. It could come randomly from a website or somebody random that you don't even know who it is, or sometimes somebody else that has been tricked before. People will log in as them. So this might be, I don't know, your accountant or a business associate you talked to like a year ago or something. All of a sudden you get an email from them like, hey, here's a very important business document. It's a PDF that just, again, brings you to a site that's like a fake Microsoft site. Those are typically the ones that we see the most. There's some more creative ones, but I'd say like 90% of that.
Didn't we just recently have one going around in Full Scope via text message? Was that last week?
Yeah, it was. It was very recent. Even business associates that we like partner with were getting some of those texts. It was the good old fashioned like, hey, it's your CEO, and I need you to do this for me. I don't know about you guys, but I tend to string them along. I get a little bit of joy out of that.
I have to say, I felt left out because I didn't get the text message.
Maybe
sad a little bit. I wasn't targeted.
Yeah, I think typically what the attackers do is either they'll they'll go on LinkedIn, they'll find out who the CEO is, and then they'll see everybody that works for that company. Or a lot of the times, company websites will have the person's name, their title, and a phone number. I hate that. I usually, if I see that on a client site, we don't really do a lot of on the website of it, but I never list people's names and phone numbers because they will and emails, because there's bad actors out there that will just crawl websites for that. And like Matt was saying, we had our the owner of the company start email or texting everybody in the company like, hey, I'm in a meeting right now. Can you give me some gift cards? And again, like last time, they're just like, anytime you hear gift cards from anybody, it's a scam. Almost 100%. Almost 100%. So I was messing with them a little bit too. They wanted like Nike gift cards. I was like, can I give you Olive Garden gift cards? Like, is that good enough? But then our CIO kind of like messaged all of us in Slack, and they're like, and he's like, by acknowledging them, you're telling them that you are the person that they're trying to reach, and that kind of like validates. So I guess the best way is to ignore, but I mean it's way more fun to mess with these people.
That's what I thought. And my thought is if, and then we're probably talking to AI at some point, but I feel like if I'm tying them up, they're not on to the next person yet. I'm like saving one more person or two more people because I'm stringing them along. But I'm sure there something or somebody is managing 20 texts at a time, and I'm, it's not happening. But
And I've had that attack work. So that specific attack is called whaling. So they try to go for the biggest whale in the company, obviously the owner or something. I had a nonprofit, man, probably 5 years ago, where same thing happened. The president, the fake president, the bad actor president, SMS or text message everybody in the company, like, hey, I'm in a meeting right now. I need a gift for this person that I'm in a meeting with. Can you send me gift cards? So two people fell for it, unfortunately. And the thing was, they both had company cards. The company card maxed out at $700 a transaction, and the bad actor asked for $1,400. Random, super specific random number, I guess. So they paid $700 on their corporate card in gift cards, and then $700 on their personal credit card to buy these gift cards. So each of the two people were out $1,400 or $2,800 total. And I remember the company coming to me and they're like, "Well, what do we do? Do we talk to our insurance company about this? Do we just pay out?" And I'm like, "Hey, man, that's above my pay grade. However you want to handle that." But it's just, those things are out there, and they don't have to work. These scams don't have to work a good amount of the time. They have to work 1% of the time, because 1%, that's one per. If it's a company of 30 people, if it works on one person, I mean, hey, that's $1,500 or fourteen
sure,
hundred
that's all
dollars
they're
for nothing.
banking on, that 1% anyway. And I mean, this
Yeah.
really just comes down to, I know we've said this a bunch of times, but it's worth repeating, right? This comes down to education, right? We just need to learn how to recognize, these are the easy ones. The text ones, I think, are the easy ones, even though people still fall for them.
You'd be
That's
surprised.
unfortunately, I'm
Yeah.
not surprised, but it should be the easy one, because half the time, I think they're counting on a lot of people still working remote and not together. But most of the time, I mean, maybe we're weird because we're an IT company that likes to work together a lot of the time. But
Yeah. It's tough too, because like if you're a newer employee, or you're right though, right? People that are remote, like I don't see, when you're remote, you don't see people often, especially like the owner of a company. And if it's a company like 30 people, and you're a newer person, like you don't talk to the boss. I
right,
would say, typically, speaking in general, you don't speak to the boss every day. You don't speak to people in payroll every day. So when those people text you, you're like, oh my god, like this is the owner.
right.
I need to act a certain way and make sure I do everything to please them, and all that kind of stuff. So it's a lot. That's why it works. When it's just like that lack of communication.
Do due diligence, people. Check with someone else outside of these texts.
Oh yeah, anytime anybody asks for a bank account, or anytime there's money or personal identifying information involved, yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a it's a quick email, it's a quick call to somebody, and just say, hey, did you ask for this? Is this the real person? And what's up with this?
Yeah, so I guess let's talk even more prevention. How do you prevent these attacks, and what are some ways you can train your folks?
The way that we do it, we use a product that does simulated phishing. So what that is instead of, like I said, like a bad actor maliciously sending you emails, like your IT company maliciously or non-maliciously sends you emails. So you'll get an email from us. It'll be completely, it'll masked, so you won't know it's from Full Scope or whatever IT company. And it'll be the same thing. We have real, and I set up which ones the users get. So I have really good Microsoft ones that look exactly like Microsoft, exactly like, Citrix, ShareFile or Google Drive or whatever. And then the user does the same thing. They'll click on it. I see when they click on it. It brings them to a fake site. If they enter their information, I can see that they entered the information. And then from there, it's an education piece, as far as the site. Once they enter the information and they hit OK, a whole screen pops up that says, you were scammed. Don't do this again. And usually it depends on what the company is, but HR or maybe an office manager will come talk to you and say, hey, don't do this anymore. It's a good learning situation. I think if somebody is caught with it once, just it kind of like ingrains in their memory. Like, oh man,
Guilty.
this is dangerous. So yeah, exactly. So I would say the phishing, simulated phishing is awesome. And also just even like yearly training. I know sometimes people, blow it off and just skip to that quiz at the end and just, answer A for everything and see if it works. But those things are, yeah, those are really good. Like, our system gives out like monthly newsletters too, and then newsletters are pretty good. Boring but pretty good for a read. Like, during COVID, they had some stuff where it would say, "Hey, here's the recent COVID scams." Back with with the PPP loans, and it's good because it keeps you up to date because there's always a new scam, and it always, it's a lot of it centers around, if the government's doing something new or handing out money, like they love to just latch onto that and try to, fake as much as they can to try to get money from you.
Yeah, I think like when you talk about those annual ones that people do skip, to me those seem like the least effective. I think they're more of a requirement, right? And then a lot of insurance companies started to say, okay, we want to do a phishing simulation at least quarterly, and then now we're starting to see some of those requirements on the renewals come in, and it's monthly. And to me, I'd say we should just be constantly educating, like getting those simulations in every form factor way we see them come in, and I don't think there's too much of it. Some people could see it as a distraction, but if you're that busy and it's a distraction to you, you're the target.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing too. Like it's a distraction, but as a business owner, that distraction costs you money. Like that distraction costs you money. I think we were talking about it last time. Like we could put in as much sophisticated IT equipment and spend thousands of dollars. It doesn't matter if like that one person, falls for some kind of scam and then gets their email taken from them, and you have financial loss based on that. I mean,
Yep.
it's really difficult for business owners and to try to prevent that.
Well, if it isn't a tech tip.
Well, great. That brings us to this week's tech tip having to do with phishing. Recognize the signs. Check the sender's email address for oddities, weird spelling, generic greetings. These are red flags. Provide security awareness training to employees. Run fake phishing simulations to teach your team what to watch for and how to report phishing attempts. And conduct regular updates. Keep all your software, especially your security measures like firewalls and antivirus, up to date. If you're interested in learning more about this topic, check out our blog post called What is Phishing and Why is it Dangerous to Organizations? There will be a link in this week's episode description, and we will also have a link posted on our website, fullscopeit.com/resources.
This is the story of the week.
Listen up!
That brings us to our story of the week. This week's story is brought to us by BuzzFeed, and its IT professionals share their funniest stories on the job. I don't know if anybody here has any fun stories they'd like to share, but there was some pretty funny ones in the article. Anybody have anything jump to mind?
There was good ones in the article. I was getting a chuckle.
I think I have the biggest WTF story that I remember from years ago. But so they had an issue that their internet was down. And I remember calling them and I'm like, I checked all the equipment. All the equipment was down. I couldn't access anything. So I was like, yeah, let's look at your modem, right? And see what's up. And I was like, hey, is everything plugged into it? Can you just unplug it and plug it back in and see if it works? So it didn't work. And I'm like, okay, I got to go on site. There's no other way to diagnose this. So I go on site. I'll try to give you an example. I'll take one of my Flower Ethernet things here. So if this is the modem, I go and look at the modem, and usually like the cable for your internet is like plugged into the thing like that. So I go there. It was my camera. I go there, and the thing is literally like this. It's unplugged from the modem. And so, like, I think when I told her to unplug it and plug it back in, she unplugged it, left it there, and then took a picture. So I got a picture earlier with this, like with just the cable unplugged. And I'm like, what are you doing? Can you plug it back in? It still didn't work. I just thought it was funny though. I told her unplug it, plug it back in. She left it unplugged, took a picture of it, and just left it like that. I'm like, and she's like, it's still down. I'm like,
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is. Correct. You are correct.
Okay. This does go like this goes way, way back for those that remember. And I'm going to say this one because it doesn't get anybody in trouble. But Gateway Computers, the manufacturer, way back in the day, their customer service took a call one time, and the lady spent something like over 20 minutes trying to get this person where they said their computer wasn't working. And long story short, it ended up not being like they asked, was everything plugged in? Oh, monitor's plugged in, this is plugged in, everything's connected. It was never put into the wall, so there was no power. So
Classic.
took them. Yeah, just the one thing you should have checked first, like, does it have power? So it kind of reminded me of that with your modem situation. Although that one, at least they'd see lights, right?
Yeah.
But has to all be connected.
Those are my favorite too. Like when you get like dispatched to one of those calls. I think anybody at IT has been there when it's like you can't figure it out. And I just jump to high level stuff like right off the bat. And when you're dispatched to something and it's like, oh my god, it's literally not plugged in. I think that's got to be the worst.
It's amazing what a reboot will fix.
If it's plugged in, yeah.
Right. First things first.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I actually have a story from a long time ago when I was a technician, would go on site and fix stuff for people. I had a client where I would go there weekly. It was just a weekly visit, and I'd hang out, do whatever they needed, and people would randomly come up if they had a problem. And I was doing my thing, and someone that worked there comes up to me and says, "Matt, I really need your help with something real quick." She was acting a little strange, so I said, "Okay." So I go to her computer, and she's like, "I don't know how I did it, but there's my screensaver is scrolling pictures that I didn't mean to, and it was." I don't know if you're aware, in Windows you can go in. I don't know if you can still do it anymore. Like I said, this is a long time ago. You could right click on a folder and say, use these photos as my screensaver, and it would just scroll
Yeah.
through every photo in the folder. Well, this was a law firm, and she accidentally clicked on a folder showing photos of a botched breast reduction surgery that they were. And they were every time she had her screensaver set to really quickly come on, and every time she stepped away, these pictures started scrolling across her computer screen.
Oh my gosh.
So I, as quick as I could, went to that folder and right clicked on it and had it stop doing it. I was like, oh my goodness. Luckily, I didn't see any of the pictures, but it's just stuff like that, for whatever reason, people start clicking around really fast, and all of a sudden, boom, you have a screensaver that you do not want scrolling across your computer.
And that's why that feature does not exist anymore.
Oh, it doesn't? Okay,
The
good.
feature.
Like I said, this was a long time ago.
Yeah. So I guess in that article, what are some of the funny stories that were in that article?
Yeah, here's one that I thought was very funny. I'll just read it out. They said, I had a person call to say their printer wouldn't print yellow. It would print green and orange, but not yellow. While troubleshooting this odd issue, they tell me it only happens when they try to print out flyers for their daughter's birthday party, which is on yellow paper.
I wonder why yellow's not
Legit.
working.
I once spoke to someone who was convinced that typing anything into their PC used up the ink in her printer.
Yeah. Or the guy that sprayed
Oh,
WD-40 to calm the fan down.
It's not a terrible idea. I
So
just
just
think that it
doused
has to be
me.
more
Oh, yeah.
foresight. I mean, it does work.
Or some accuracy. You don't need a ton of it.
Yeah.
Might be another way to.
Yeah, there was one. Someone plugged a power cable into a USB port. There was nothing I could do for the poor violated thing. Apparently, they made use of a screwdriver and a hammer.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, I can imagine walking into that. I mean, I've seen some things. I remember there was a place that we had. It was like what do you call it? They would do. Boy, I'm at a loss for words today. It's like when a body shop. They would do car repairs when they got in accidents, and they had a computer. Every week they would open it up and use like a super duper air compressor to blow all the dust out that would fly around in there. And of course it would, cables would be, popping off of stuff. I'd constantly call me, and I'd have to, go in and reconfigure everything. Cause I mean, they were using like something you would use to fill your tire on your car to blow this thing out.
Oh wow. Like the wireless printer, but they thought that meant power too.
Oh, yeah.
That was a good one.
Hey,
Some Tesla coil
I
stuff.
think that should be
right.
a thing. I'm on
We're
their
almost
side with
there.
that one. Wireless
I
should
wish
be
it
wireless.
was. Yep. Anything that requires power, though, is a bit more difficult. I mean, look how close our wireless charging has to be for our personal devices, right? It's got to be right on top of the thing. Plus, do we really want voltage flying through the air in the same room we're in? I don't think that's a good outcome for us, per se.
I saw on YouTube where somebody did that. They had they did like a Tesla coil or something like in place of like the light bulb, and they wanted to see like if their phone would light up from like wherever my light is. They did it. I don't remember if it does actually like affect the human body if you throw around that much electricity.
Maybe it'd be good for us. Who knows? Right? We do have
Yeah.
electrotherapy,
Oh, there you go.
Get like superpowers or something.
right? You could
Yeah.
adjust the frequency that jives with your body, and that might be kind of cool.
All of a sudden you have superpower. You can like super strength.
Can I have the superpower of just cognitive
That's where we're
thinking
going.
on a daily basis? I'll take that. Especially on a Monday.
That's not too bad.
Thank you for joining us for this week's edition of the Full Scope Cybercast, Safeguarding the Digital Frontier. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode, so until then, stay behind your firewall.